It's the source of our success. If the family breaks down, we break down. Broken homes give us broken people. Some parts I was just like, and when they show what our culture is now, it's disgusting. There were no retarded bees back then. There was no Lizzo who was being celebrated for being 400 pounds. Yes, queen, body positivity. Yes, you can be positive that your ass is going to be in the grave early. When did we start celebrating death?
Okay, hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. So some of you guys have been talking about some of you guys watched Uncle Tom, which I'm happy because I know a lot of people do not want to watch that movie, and I wonder why. Do you think it's just because people don't want, if they find out some truths? I think the amount of research they went into this movie was just, like this documentary.
It challenges your perception of the past.
It does.
You know what I mean? And it will make people mad because of that. You know what I mean? But it does challenge you to look at things differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason maybe why people don't want to watch it, because we want to stay stuck in our fantasy kind of what we think things were. But yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, so I'm glad some of you guys have watched it. We're gonna watch Jericho Green as a YouTuber. He is conservative. He kind of gave a review about Uncle Tom 2. Uncle Tom 2. If you guys haven't seen the first one, you should see the first one. But I like what he's had to say about this, and this part was kind of interesting to me as well. So,
and there's a third one coming out.
Yeah, there's a third one coming out, and that's gonna be lots of receipts. But anyway, so we're gonna watch what's here what Jericho has to say, and yeah, let's go.
Some of the images, I found myself looking at some of that just going, damn. And it's not the first time you've seen it, but it's like the first time you saw it. It's going to challenge some things that you thought you knew. There were some things that I just knew for sure. Fire's hot, puppies are cute. This thing was the way it was, but it's not. And I almost felt dumb. I felt taken, I felt had, I felt bamboozled because I believed it. I've been believing this all of my life. What I'm going to talk about, I've been believing it my whole life. I never questioned it.
And so it has been. Divide the people. Get them fighting among themselves.
Uncle Tom 2 unveils the Marxist strategy of creating false racial tension between Americans, with its ultimate goal of obtaining power, destroying capitalism, and replacing God with government. Not nairn word of that is untrue. That's exactly what we're dealing with now. This is communism by 1,000 cuts.
Fighting against each other. So we talked about this in the last video a little bit, but this is so accurate. Get us getting upset at each other, and then this is where the spiral starts to happen, right? The spiral out of control starts to happen. As long as we're getting upset at each other and all this communist talk, this is how it happens.
Create fire.
Yep.
Within.
Yep.
Because the whole thing was that remember Yuri, I think it's Yuri Benikov, or
yes.
The
KGB agent. Real quick, if you haven't seen that video where we talked about the KGB agent, I'll put it above me.
But his point was that the Soviet Union always thought it always knew it could never break, because everyone's always wanted to get the United States because it's the most powerful country. Right. But they realized that the Soviet Union realized that they could not get America by destroying it from the outside because it's too powerful. What you have to do is have it implode. Right. So which means you have to break up things, like you have to get communism going, socialism, things like that. So what you have to do is you got to get people mad at each other, men against women, gays against straight, black against white. You just keep creating these narratives and keep doing it until we all implode. Yeah, and we ruin it.
And I call that what I say is a massive interruption of society. That's what they're doing.
You denigrate a nation from the inside, and then it self-implodes.
Right.
We didn't notice it till now. It's been going on for a long time.
Who our major enemy is.
It's the footage. Let's talk about the footage first. Because a lot of the footage from this were old pictures black people being prosperous, happy, successful, black families. Everybody was in suits. Everybody dressed nice and respectful, had dignity, pride, hats, ties, dresses. Women were women. And those images were juxtaposed with footage of what is called black culture today. The foul mouths, the violence, the drug use, the dilapidated neighborhoods. They have to hide these images of successful black people, these successful black towns, entire towns. Everybody in that town, it was self-sufficient. It took care of itself. Everybody had a job. Everybody did something and contributed to that society. Everybody looked out for each other. Everybody held everybody else to a higher standard, your appearance, the way you act. But if you hide those images from people, they'll never know any better.
Everyone, I'm sorry, I interrupted you guys real quick, but everyone held everyone at a higher standard.
Yeah.
So this is something that should have never stopped, because when you don't shame a behavior, you know, it can get out of control. So back in those times, shameful behavior was not accepted. It was not something that was accepted. So because of that, the society, the neighborhoods, the community held everyone at a certain standard, which in turn made people not want to misbehave, not want to embarrass their community, embarrass their parents, embarrass their, you know what I mean? They didn't want to do that.
So like when we do our show where we go shame. See, that was normal. And it kept
Right.
It kept communities together.
Yep.
Because it was shameful to have a child outside of marriage. It was shameful to walk around saying, I don't believe in God. You know what I mean? It was shameful for a man not to get up and go to work. It was shameful for a woman to, you know, boss her husband around and not let a man take the lead.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was shameful to walk around and look like a tramp.
Right.
And to be tatted up from, you know,
Yeah,
from your neck all the way
100.
down to your feet. You know what I mean? Those things were shameful. But those shames that we put on people kept our money up.
Yep.
It kept our businesses up. It kept us up.
Yeah.
It kept us together.
Right.
When you hide those images from people, they start to believe they can never be. But when you see these images and you read the real history, see, I don't have a problem with the real history of America. Tell all of it. We need to know all of it. Knowledge is power. But in all of it, that also means show me the greatness that my people were part of. Show me the wonderful things we did for this country, in this country. Some of the images they showed in that documentary, I was embarrassed to watch in front of white people. Nigga this and nigga that. Oh, up violent neighborhoods. Airbrush t-shirts. Lil so-and-so, rest in power. We came from that to this. My dad would call that going from sugar to. We had the success. We were doing better before the civil rights movement. You know, you always hear about redlining. Oh, they wouldn't let black people buy houses in certain areas. Well, guess what? If you have your own, you don't need to.
This administration today, here and
Lyndon
now,
Baines Johnson, he said, I'll have these niggas voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And that's the man who was pushing it. He signed it. We were doing better before government intervention. We were doing better as slaves. Oh, I know. What a sellout. What a coon. What an Uncle Tom. What a bootlicker. Fuck you. It's called the truth. People, there were black slave owners. They don't want to tell you that. They want to tell you that the white man, every white person in America owned a Negro. Black people owned slaves too. Indians owned slaves too. It wasn't just the blue-eyed devil. There were some brown-eyed devils too. But they can't tell you that. If they tell you you're up here with everybody else, then you got to start acting like it. And there's no room for victimhood up here.
And this is why I think a lot of black people don't want to hear the truth, is because when you are up there, when you realize you are on some sort of level where you are on the same playing field, where we were doing better and we have proof that we're doing better, there's no room for all this victimhood. There's no room for feeling sorry for yourself and all these narratives that just keep going around. We need reparations. You know what I mean? There's no room for that anymore. And a lot of people even white people, a lot of people choose the victim role because it's easy to be a victim. It's a lot harder to come to rise up.
To rise up.
And we were saying about Booker T. Washington's book when we were reading it.
Up from slavery.
Up from slavery. Booker T. Washington even said Native Americans. I didn't know this. Native Americans did not appreciate us because they thought that we. The masses of us submitted to slavery, and they didn't respect that.
Yeah,
I thought, wow, I didn't know that. You know what I mean?
That's
But
true.
he was a slave,
He
said that was a fact that a lot of the majority of Native Americans didn't respect black people because they submitted to slavery.
And now we want to team up with. Come on.
So I find that very interesting
Yeah.
because it's not something a lot of people talk about.
And by the way, slavery, you know, they always say, like you said, they want everybody to believe that they want you to sit there and believe only the white people owned slaves, right? Well,
not
obviously,
true.
there was more white people in the country than anyone, so obviously lots of them did. But people are forgetting that slavery is very expensive. Okay, so not all white people even had slaves.
But the idea that slavery was expensive to own a slave and black people owned them. Because
What does
there
that
were some
tell you?
black people that had some money.
Prospered, yes.
A lot of money.
So we gotta, you know, we're gonna tell part of history. We gotta tell all our history.
There's no room for blaming on the white man up here. There's no room for unarmed black people getting shot up here. There's no room for I can't go for a jog or I get killed up here. All we got up here is work and prosperity and success. Expectations are everything. But those images were so damn powerful. It's not like you've never seen them before, but you have to see them in this kind of context. Everybody needs to see this movie. It's good for everybody. Because it's about everybody. Because we're all living in this right now. We're all affected by it. So it's for all of us. When you watch this movie, some of the things you learn, you're like,
there is no country in this world that a black person would rather be.
There were a few moments in that documentary I was like, what?
Don't spread the rumor throughout the world that Negroes are kept in ignorance because of prejudiced white people and all of that propaganda.
Another thing that was covered in the movie was Marxism, communism, socialism. It all equals death.
It ends with tens of millions of people dead.
Mass graves filled with tens of millions of people who are prosperous and happy at one point.
Ideological subversion is to change the perception of reality.
There was a clip in there where this former Russian KGB officer,
That despite of the abundance of information,
he's talking about how this has been Russia's plan forever to tear down America from the inside. It's the only way you can bring down something so big and so powerful, from the inside. And they've been doing it for years, and now it's working. They talked about at length about Booker T. Washington. Everybody needs to know about him. But years ago, he talked about the fact that there are people in the Negro race who benefit from there always being some strife, some upheaval, a problem, a grievance. We can't just be successful and be happy and be quiet like everybody else. There's always got to be some shit going on. There's always got to be a problem. Fellas, you ever date a woman like that where there's always some drama? That gets old quick, doesn't it? They had some clips in there, and I'm not even giving you that much of it. There's so much in this documentary. But they had footage of black women who went down to the welfare office because their EBT cards hadn't been reloaded. This one sat there and said with a straight face that my baby hasn't eaten since this morning because you're so dependent on the government that you don't feed your baby unless the government gives you the means.
So lots of parts infuriated me. That part infuriated me. When watching this woman hold her baby and my baby hasn't eaten since this morning. Like, how dare you?
So you're not even going to attempt to get a job or anything like that. You're just going to wait for the government to give you money to feed your children while you keep making children on the system. It merely upset, and then people get, this is why I can't stand Cardi B.
Yeah,
it's because she perpetuates a narrative for women of color,
yeah,
and they go out and do it, and they don't have the millions to back it up like she does, and she's married,
right?
She doesn't have the millions to back up. They end up on government assistance,
right? And
then waiting for someone else to take care of kids they created, not their husbands.
It's infuriating
because they're not married.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so it just. that part of the movie, it did annoy me.
It was hard. Yeah, I agree with Jericho there. I was like, oh my God.
She
this
said,
can't be
and it
real.
wasn't just her. It was like 3 different women they kind of had on camera talking like this.
But I'm going to say this, is that the idea that the people who came before us that fought the real stuff, right? The idea was to get generational wealth, not generational welfare. That was the idea. So clearly she is on a generational welfare situation. So I would go ahead and bet money that she comes from a history, a cycle of generational welfare, where it just keeps going. So she actually believes that she's been doing wrong.
Reparations isn't going to help her.
No. Her mind is messed up.
By the way,
It's not a
you do
money
know
problem.
that when they started giving out welfare, it was supposed to be a form of reparations to black people.
Yes, yeah.
Something else I didn't know about.
Yeah.
But they were trying to sneak that in.
Right.
But all it did was ruin us.
No, it ruined us and it made us an embarrassment.
Martin Luther King was a detriment to black people. He didn't help us in any way. Black folks were doing fine. They had jobs and communities and tight-knit families, big families.
That's going to be hard.
So the Martin Luther King thing is going to be difficult for a lot of people to understand.
It was difficult for me.
It was difficult for me to understand. But when you do read into it and you know where we were before he kind of came in, it does suggest that we were just better off being segregated. I ain't saying that, but we just were. We did more.
Yeah. Because, a lot of economists are saying that they feel that natural integration was going to happen just because of society and business and business dealings and stuff. So had we stayed, this is a very controversial thing to say this, but if we had stayed segregated, eventually we were doing very well, obviously.
Yeah.
We prospered being segregated. Everyone minded their own business. Being segregated, right? But because of just the flow of society, the increase in society, just the way people's dealings were, and just in society alone, natural integration was going to happen anyway. We're in a country together, so it was going to happen anyways. So we really didn't need race baiters coming to do this. Now, this part of the movie, and this part of the documentary, it's very difficult. This is going to be the hardest thing. I think this might be the hardest thing for most black people to actually take in and research. And because I'm saying that as a conservative black woman and is against all this race baiting, even for me, because Martin Luther King is a very powerful, he had a powerful voice. Everything he said was, what he said in his speeches were so on point. It was, it hit home, and I just loved hearing how he prospered, So hearing other stuff that he was involved in, it was very hard for me. Honestly, it was very hard for me. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we're always believed as black people to have a leader.
Yeah, even when it comes to the bus boycotts, there's a part in there where they actually take a snippet from a guy, I don't really know his name, you'd have to watch it, but he was talking to Charlemagne the God about buses, and his family owned a bus company in the Civil Rights era.
Right.
And he said that we had our own buses, so why they were wanting to boycott the buses, he said there's even a point where they go, well, he said, is there a white bus? He'll find a white bus. And so basically they wanted to get to we had our own bus lines.
Yeah.
But they wanted to integrate, so they used this system, this Marxist system, to agitate so you could get on the bus. And then Charlemagne the God even said, and now that I'm thinking about it, that doesn't make any sense. Why would we spend a whole year not getting on the bus when we could have just been, he's right, you're a smart man, we could have just been investing in ourselves. But we got manipulated sort of with our feelings to sort of boycott buses instead of sticking with our own. And what really happened with our businesses is that once we were integrated, we started to leave our businesses.
Because we're allowed to get into white spaces
to go into white space. And that kind of makes me wonder if that's why white people wanted to integrate.
Yeah.
So they can get our money.
And also we have a high buying power. We always have. Black people buy a lot. So,
there's a video on YouTube that says how to sell to the black.
Oh my God, I want to do a video on that.
It's called How to Sell to the Negro. It's like back in the 50s. Yeah. And so they know how we are.
Yeah.
They actually have a whole marketing strategy in the 50s of how to sell to black people.
But I think that would be the hardest thing for people to,
it's hard when we unify figures. Because even Republicans, there are Republicans who have a hard time understanding. Chad said that. He said it's very hard. He was just like, but there are just figures in our life that we have made into like gods.
Yeah.
And no matter what they did wrong,
Yeah.
people will use them to fix to win the narrative. You know what I
Right.
mean? And Martin Luther King is definitely one of those characters,
Yeah.
or one of those people. You know what I mean? And so, but yeah.
I don't want to speak prematurely about Martin Luther King. I said the movie has not come out yet, or the documentary, speaking about Martin Luther King in more depth and what was going on with him. So I don't want to speak prematurely about it, but just my own light research on Martin Luther King.
No, and he didn't write his speeches.
Yeah,
you know, that was one thing.
It's very, it's just very interesting to me. So I am curious to know what exactly happened with that. So we'll see.
There wasn't a 50-50 chance that a black child would get aborted or be born back then. They were born. Every Sunday, families got together because family is important. Family is the foundation for everything. It's the source of our success. If the family breaks down, we break down. Broken homes give us broken people. Man, I'm watching that again. Some parts I was just like, and when they show what our culture is now, it's disgusting. There were no retarded bees back then. There was no Lizzo who was being celebrated for being 400 pounds. Yes, queen, body positivity. Yes, you can be positive that your ass is going to be in the grave early. When did we start celebrating death? When did we start championing and highlighting and promoting death? Our own death, not the death of somebody else, our own. Every rap album should be titled, Kill Me, Kill Us, Kill, 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 Murder. When did that shit happen? When the civil rights movement came in and they broke down the family. And another reason that it's important to everybody, because this breakdown of the black family creates the people that are f***ing this country up right now. Creates the people who are smashing and grabbing. Summer of 2020, BLM. We're talking about those sorry too. Those 3 black angry lesbians who started BLM and the who trained them. They admit I have Marxist training. And they talk about who Karl Marx is and what he wanted to do. Destroy religion and the family. That's the udder that they suckled from. So of course that's who they are. Of course that's what they want to do. They need to play Uncle Tom 2 like they do CNN. Just have it on everywhere. Airports, restaurants, whatever. Anywhere there's a TV, they need to be playing that shit. Because that's powerful information for all of us.
To be more specific.
Don't think that because it's a black cast, that there's a black man on the cover, that myself and other black conservatives went to it. Don't think it's not for everybody, because it is. Because it's about the America that we all share. And we're all affected by our actions. So yeah, everybody needs to see this.
Seeing that, it's really hard also is just watching like the young people and
the side-by-side images.
Yeah, like the shooting up of the neighborhoods, the way the young black people are behaving with all the rap and stuff like that. But it's not even just that. This just their demeanor, the hate, the anger,
and all the celebrities clapping in the audience.
Yeah, it's like,
in the Bible it does say, if you choose the world, you choose death, because this world has nothing to give but death.
Right.
If you choose God, you choose life.
Right.
And we have chosen death because we've chosen materialism. And we've chosen money.
That's empty.
And being looked at and being envied and deified as people. But we forgot about God, and when we had God, even during Jim Crow, we were choosing life. Life was we didn't have abortion, so life was literally being created. You know what I mean? We chose family, we chose God, we chose hard work and perseverance. Now what we choose is anger, protest, frustration, sexuality, abortion, welfare, the state. Karl Marx was all about that. He's very hostile to God.
You guys should look up Karl Marx and kind of look at him and see what that he was
all about. And the
Communist
Manifesto, when he wrote that book, he was very hostile to God because he felt that God was the reason why he said God was the reason why people didn't stand up. That because there was something, people who are born of God, you can't scare them with poverty.
Yeah.
They'll persevere. they'll get up. But if you don't have God and you don't believe in God, you're just a atheist.
Yeah.
You're much more likely to believe in socialism and communism because you don't think of anything outside of this world. You don't think you're going anywhere. You don't think that there is anything you have to answer to.
And that's my personal belief of mine, is that when you believe that you are there's no one above you, there's nothing above you there, that you are to live by, any kind of creed or anything. I feel like that's a dangerous world to be in, because you are the limit for yourself. That's it. There's nothing else. And I think that a lot of times when people do that, they don't have anybody else they don't feel they have anybody to answer to, or any entity to answer to. I think that it makes them arrogant and kind of lost. Yeah, I think so. Now, that could be debated. It could be debated. I know there's a lot of debates about God in general, but I just don't see. I think that it's very destructive to think that you are the end all and be all of all this,
and it causes destruction.
It does.
And all of the leaders that we kind of looked up to at one point. I mean, even Martin Luther King. Like I said, a lot of the people who wrote his speeches were communists, communist socialist people. And then also like Stokely Carmichael was a communist. Angela Davis was a communist. The people who did the Black Panther were also communists. They were Marxist.
BLM.
They were BLM communists. They were Marxist institutions. Yeah. You know what I mean? And those types of institutions have really made the Black people in this country sort of fall into anger and frustration and, like I said, materialism, money, and that's all we seem to think about. This is why everybody can look at Lizzo do what she's doing on the stage and not look at her and feel bad for her, but to sit there like Jada Pinkett and
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry. Yeah, you can look at Tyler Perry, the Miss God guy.
He's the God.
I'm going to church, and he's over here looking at a woman who's over 400 pounds and standing up, giving her standing ovation while she denigrates herself on a stage. Because he's also traded in that there's a massive trade for Marxism. Yeah, this is not good. That is not a good look for us, because it makes the masses want to do that, and this is why we have so many young people today who don't really have any respect for themselves. They're
just look how the people were acting on the video. Just look how this. Even though I see people in my own life, not just the TV or whatever. I'm talking about just in general. The behavior of our people has massively dropped to a point of just honestly anger and sad. It's two things: anger and sadness. Especially our young people. They're just feeling very angry, and they're mean, and they're destructive. And I would say the majority of these people are not raised with men. They don't have fathers. They don't have strong. They are raised around men. They're bad guys who went down a wrong path themselves. So we don't have we need more of the strength. And so when I look at the pictures, he shows pictures from the 20s, the early 1900s, going on into the 50s, 60s, the 40s, mid. And seeing those pictures, I'm almost bringing a tear to your eye, because how Black people looked.
We've fallen
we
so
looked
far.
So beautiful, well kept, so I don't know the word is
respect.
Yeah, just like
we
nice.
have some respect in ours. That's like real Black.
Yeah.
We want to talk about pride. That was real Black pride.
They just look nice. They look
men
prosperous.
Who dressed in suits and wore hats, and they went to work.
Yeah.
And they weren't sitting around here blaming the white man. They just kept going to work. You know what I mean? And women who looked like women, dressed like women, were showing all of their bodies, weren't tatted up from neck to foot.
I will say this too, that even seeing that bride, there's a little clip of that bride coming out of the church with her her new husband. Even seeing that was something very humble about that, because I love the idea of just like the backyard church or church wedding, but I like what it's turned into now is that these weddings have turned into these big, elaborate, $1 million events, these $100,000s of dollars events for a party, and something was very lovely, I guess you can say.
Just that little dress, in her
little
neighborhood,
veil.
you know what I mean?
It was just like, it's like lovely seeing someone just live like a simple life. I think it's what it is. That's maybe what it is. Is that people just lived a more simple life, and I'm a very simplistic person.
Not only that, looking at kids look like kids.
Look like kids.
Children looking like children. You know what I mean?
Being family. It's just very.
And the reason why I talk about that is because I think that the way you look does determine how you kind of act.
Oh no,
I mean, if you're walking around looking like a thug, you're going to act like one. You know what I mean? But those people dressed the way they felt.
Yes.
You know
They
what I
felt
mean?
elegant,
And
they
when
dressed
you
elegant.
look at when they show different videos of those people in the hood just sort of, claiming streets and everything, they're dressing the way they feel.
I'm saddened by that.
I'm saddened by that.
Because I don't want that to happen to
looking
young
at black
people.
women in black neighborhoods now, looking like men, talking like men,
Just aggressive,
angry men, not even real men, like angry, frustrated men. They show that a lot in the documentary as well, and it just makes me sad that you can see, like, if you look in the 60s, like I said, the late 60s, you could see black women starting to get masculine.
And I think because a lot of people, you guys know, there's a lot of talk right now about the modern woman, especially Kevin Samuels. He kind of brought it with this whole modern woman, kind of masculine woman, the feminist woman. So this is the big talk and everything like that. But I don't think people really understand how, like, when I think about that, it actually is very sad. It's sad to me when I see these, I guess you can call quote unquote modern women, because people are not really taking in what that actually is meaning.
Yeah.
People are just, because it's something to talk about right now, But a woman that behaves in a masculine behavior, she is not comfortable in her own femininity. And that's what's sad to me, is that the femininity is there, but she has to suppress it so much that she can't be what we were seeing in the video, those lovely ladies before. That's in her. That's in all of us women, right? But when I hear people talk about the modern woman, I'm like, you're going far, but not far enough. I'm talking about there's a deep-seated problem with that. So it's not just like the feminist thing. That's just a bunch of BS, with loud talking women, whatever. But I'm talking about the actual spiritual part of a woman behaving like that. She has lost herself as a person, as a lady, as a woman. She's lost that instinct as a woman. It's gone. It's suppressed somewhere. And that's what bothers me about that. So when I see these women in here, and I see them being ladylike and serving their men and blah, 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 and the fact that that's looked at as you're a suppressed woman, you're an oppressed woman because you're doing something very feminine, it just bothers me. So I'm like, no, this is who we are as women.
And Jericho, Jericho really skimmed the surface on this. The movie's about 2 hours long. Yeah. And there's two of them. We have both documentaries, but they're both about 2 hours long. And they really get into depth about who we were before that. And it does bother me. It bothers me, like a lot of black people I know even now. They'll go in the comments and they'll say, oh, see, this is what I hate about you too. You guys like to put down black women. It's not that. It's not that. Sometimes telling the truth is love. It's love. If I were to go and say that everything was just okay as it is, to me, that's hate. Yes. That's a coon. Yeah. That's a sellout. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you allow your community to make a mockery of itself, and then you just go, because you don't want to be the unliked person. Right. You go and just keep on saying stuff that doesn't help us. We think that looking like an elite is where it's at. There's like the modesty is gone too. Like, and I hate that. Now even like wedding dresses are like see-through and stuff like that. Like the modesty of the society is gone. That is concerning to me. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm crazy here. I feel like I'm crazy to even think, but it's so concerning to me that we're not even modest anymore. And men are supposed to lead because they talk a lot about. There's a part where they really talk about women and men and a woman's place. And it's just so refreshing to hear men talk like men and stop talking like feminists. That's what I was saying in previous videos, that we cannot lose the patriarchy, because the downfall of the patriarchy means the downfall of society. So you can't, but again, this is how they ruin society. They have to first break the man. There was a core value system in our country. Right. World. But in our country, there was a value system and a respect that you had for yourself. There were standards and there was character. We had that. We saw it. We had that. And then it's just, we're moralists. We have no morals. Our morals are completely gone. And you know what? I'm not even speaking on like I'm a perfect person. You guys know we talked about I told you my mistakes. We have literally on this show talked about all of our shortcomings. We have talked about a lot of them, our shortcomings, and we have not painted ourselves to be any like perfect people. No. But I will say this. I am always going to err on the side of great standards and morals and integrity. Right. I'm not going to compromise that.
because I see when you compromise that, a society gets destroyed and is in destruction. So that is one thing I will not compromise. But what I'm seeing is that we're compromising that. And we're really selling our souls to the devil. We're selling our souls. This is what we're doing. What we just saw, people shooting each other up, killing each other at a higher rate than anybody can kill us. No cop can kill us as fast as we're killing ourselves.
And Larry Elder,
You know?
I think he was quoting Booker T. Washington, but he said, no man ever lost anything from being a man, a gentleman, and no woman ever lost anything from being a lady.
Has it? It's true.
And we have lost being men and women,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. We've lost that. We don't care anymore. And because we've lost that, we've lost a lot. I mean, we've lost character.
Yeah.
We've lost a lot of it. You know what I mean? And it's just like it's almost like we sold our soul to integration, and we gave up everything for integrating.
Yeah, that's it.
We gave up our family, our businesses, and everything just so we can hang out with white people. And I don't understand. You know, when I see the numbers, it's just undeniable. That is what happened. You know what I mean? And so now I see the same thing. It's like we're selling our soul as black women to hang out with feminists. Feminists don't like men.
Yeah.
They don't like men.
Yeah.
It
But
really
I know
is.
that a lot of you guys, I know you guys said that you have watched it, and it's kind of like made you think about, you know, a lot of stuff. You know, like where you were maybe wrong, or you were right, didn't go far enough. That's what it was
Right.
me. I knew a lot of stuff, but I didn't know all this. You know, I didn't know all this stuff. You know, so I would just say, please, you know, you guys, if you take the time, watch it. Uncle Tom 1 and 2, please watch it. It's really, really good. You guys will like it. And then let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about it when you get done watching it.
And then you can literally do like all kinds of, I mean, you'll see it. It's right there. I mean, I read Manny Johnson's book.
Yeah.
And it's a very short book.
very-
It's on audiobook on YouTube. Read it. It's
not
fascinating.
long. Yeah.
They've been doing this they've been trying to get at us since the 20s.
Yeah.
And Manny Johnson was a communist, an American communist. And he left it because he realized that the communist party was using black people, in his words, in a game, using them as a pawn in a game that's much bigger than they know. That we're being used.
So it does send you
in a game that's far bigger than them. That's what he said.
Yeah, and I just think it allows a timeline. So that's what I like about it. I think is that it gives you a timeline of the events of our country's history. In a really true, like a kind of a truthful way, as opposed to just all this emotional stuff, you know, whatever.
Maybe
So
just neighborhoods and stuff, like just regular people going to work and stuff, like in the 50s and 40s, and it's really remarkable.
Yeah, not just rich people. I'm talking about working class
Just
people.
working class people, like you know,
still had the same values. Working class people, rich people, didn't matter. Everyone operated with the same values back in that time, and I just really want us to get back to that, which is why we keep talking about this stuff, and we will keep talking about it. All right, but let us know what you guys think. Leave some comments below. And yeah, we'd like to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel if you have not yet. And that's it. We will see you guys in the next video. Bye.